Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Inner Blueprint Podcast. The podcast for the home improvement industry and anyone and everyone looking to think better thoughts to get better results. I'm your host, Sean Foyer, and I'm here with the beautiful Miss Caitlin.
Your co-host.
And we are, I don't even have words to describe how excited, honored we are for today's guest. Miss Caitlin, how would you introduce today's guest?
The king of kings, the great of greats, Mr. Charlie Gundell.
Oh, legend of the home improvement industry. You know, I will never forget my first meeting of Charlie over 20 years ago. It was at a certified contractors networking event. He invited me to his office in Southern California. I showed up. He put his arms around me like a father would, turned his computer screen around, said, "Here's my systems, here's my finances, here's what I do, Sean." He took me in the back room, handed me a bag, filled it with every brochure, every how-to he had. And from that day forward, he's been a mentor of mine. He's been a friend of mine. I've been honored to have a pretty close view of his incredible journey from humble beginnings, less than $1 million in revenue, and 40 years later, exceeding $40 million in annual revenue, selling his business, continuing on to write books, to consult, to share and give back to this industry that's been so amazing to him. Miss Caitlin and I had the pleasure, a synchronicity. We were going to watch my Utes play in the Rose Bowl and called Charlie, went to his house, actually went to his office as he packed up his things on his last day in the business. We followed him home. Out of that, we had some amazing conversations, and him and his beautiful wife, Connie, said when we were ready to get married, that we could do it at their house, which we did last New Year's Eve. And
it was a party.
What a celebration. This gentleman performed the services and married us. And oh my gosh, please welcome to Inner Blueprint, Mr. Charlie Gundell. What's up, Charlie?
Hey, Sean and Caitlin, thank you very much. That's quite a buildup. Hopefully we don't let them down from this point on, but thank you very much for your kind words.
I know we won't. I mean, I've been listening to you speak and teach and talk, and I think most people that have listened to you, we can't get enough Charlie.
I agree.
So today we're excited. I'm holding in my hands, I think fresh off the presses, your original book, Lessons Learned. I've told so many people this is a business guide. Study it, study it, study it.
Implement what is in the book. And now it just got even better.
We've got more lessons learned. And I'm honored you picked this funny guy, Sean Foyer, to write the foreword. There's a lot of mindset in this book, right, Charlie? And I think in our discussion today, let's help people take the limits off. Stop holding yourself back. Get the trash out of your head and start living the life you were destined to live. What inspired you to write this book, Charlie?
Well, the genesis of the book was that back in the fall of 2021, I was a couple months away from retiring. And Brian Cascavassian, who I think a lot of people know from The Wealthy Contractor, asked me to speak at the Accelerate Live conference he has in February. And he said, I'd like to actually do an add-on day. And we do a session where people come after the conference that are interested. And he said, you had incredible growth in your business, especially in the last 10 years. And a lot of people would like to know how you did that, And so I said, okay. So I sat down and I thought about, the last 10 years of my business, we grew at a little over 25% compound average annual growth rate.
Wow.
And we increased the size of the business by 6 times in 10 years.
Wow.
And it wasn't just me. It was a lot of other people helping me and people that have been influential and instrumental in my career. But so I started to think about where I was, and then the things that I did differently. And a lot of it was mindset. A lot of it was skill set. And so that was, I did a presentation. It was like a 6-hour presentation like from 8:30 in the morning to about 3:30 in the afternoon. We broke for lunch. And afterwards, Brian came up to me and he's shaking his head. And he said, "Man, that's a book right there. That's a lot of information." So that was really the genesis of it. That got me thinking about it, doing it. And then the following year, we did it again, and we actually I added to the, yeah, and added to the content a little bit, and we did it again for an even larger group. And I wrote a couple other books, and then so I got thinking, I want to do, maybe I got one more book in me, and the first one was kind of my journey, and going from just being a guy with a tool belt on to becoming a businessman. But this book is really about taking it to the next level, and I mean, I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not rocket science, and then since I retired, I've had dozens and dozens of people reach out to me, want me to want my advice, want some insight, want to bounce ideas off of me. I've been coaching a lot of people in the home improvement industry around the country, and I started to see, certain common denominators, and I see people that want to grow their business, and they've been in business for 5, 10, 15 years, but they're not really growing. They're not building the business that they could, and they're certainly not earning the living that they should. And so that was really the catalyst that got me to really sit down and put my thoughts together and write the book, because I want to help people, and some people are in their own way, and get them out of their own way, and get them, it all begins up here between our ears, and then we have to execute, we have to implement. And
Yeah.
so that was really the background behind putting the book together.
Well, and I love that you're adding this book that's more about mindset and how we add it to the process. And for me personally, my journey, I had some success in the business, but not as much as I could have because of my limited mindset. And then I went to work as a sales trainer for certified contractors, and they have good process, business planning, which you taught to them, their sales process. And I saw the same individuals getting the information, been in business 15, 20 years, and they were limiting their growth. And it was an inside job. And, Inner Blueprint, the podcast, our program, it's all about going inside, finding out what's inside of you. What are the thermostats, as I call them, on money, on self-worth, on what you deserve, that are keeping you stuck, and how do we take those off?
Yeah, I mean, so much of I guess one of the benefits of getting old, there's not too many, other than you get reacquainted with a lot of aches and pains and muscles you never knew you had. But
Yes.
one of the benefits is, I think, comes wisdom, and a lot of things if we had them when we were younger. But so I think as I look around at other people, they just they're not ready. They're not in the right mindset. And I've learned that most of life is a self fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And as you know, one of my favorite quotes is from Henry Ford: "If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right." And we a lot of people limit themselves, and other people, don't limit themselves. The first, the quote that I started out the book with, chapter one, is from T.S. Eliot, who's an author, and he says, "Only those who risk going too far possibly can find out how far one can go."
Yes.
And then I tied in, the Top Gun movie back in the '80s was a big hit, and then a couple years ago was Top Gun Maverick. So it introduced a whole new generation of people to Top Gun. But in the beginning of both of those movies, there's a song that comes on. It's a very fast-paced song, and it shows them getting a jet fighter all loaded up on the deck of an aircraft carrier, and it's a song by Kenny Loggins. It's called Danger Zone,
Danger zone. Yeah.
and there's a line from Danger Zone which says, "You'll never know what you can do until you get it up as high as you can go." And and they're talking about these Top Gun fighter pilots, right? These are the best of the best. These guys are taking these planes vertically up, and they're training them how to win in combat and how to fight dog fights and things like that. And so that just really connected with me. And I thought, a lot of that's about life and about business. You'll never know what you can do until you get it up as high as you can go. And to me, that was, as human beings, I think we naturally, we want to be comfortable. We want to have a comfortable life. We want to have peace of mind, and we're all in a comfort zone that, knowingly or unknowingly, we've kind of created for ourselves, and that's great. We want to be comfortable. We don't want to be uncomfortable, and everybody has that comfort zone. And but what I've learned is that there are other more comfortable zones,
Mhm.
and sometimes they're right around the corner from where you're at. But you can't get to that next more comfortable zone by staying where you're at. You can't grab onto the opportunity while you're holding on to the security of what you have. You got to take some calculated risks. And I call that, it's a danger zone because you're a little afraid, you're a little concerned, you're not sure, but you believe in yourself, and you believe in the possibilities, and you just go for it. And that's a danger zone at first, but then when you get there, you say, "Hey, that wasn't so bad," and now you got a new, more comfortable zone,
Yeah.
right? And
It,
and life is like a series of climbing up the steps, doing that. And I think we can all relate to, as children and young adults, things we did that were kind of at the time daring, cutting edge. We never did that before, and then we do it, and then it becomes commonplace and routine. And I think a lot of that mindset that leads us to do that uh, is what people in business need to remember and adapt, and be willing to take those calculated risks. If you're not, you're going to probably stay in your comfort zone, and that's fine. But you know, life is passing you by, and you'll never know what you could have been or what you could have made.
Yeah. Pretty soon the comfort zone becomes the danger zone because you're stuck there.
Yeah,
And I think, and you've seen this with all your consulting, the conscious to subconscious mind. Consciously, people say they want more, but their subconscious mind is where the programs are set, and they'd rather stay comfortable, like you say. And once you get to the other side, and I call it the other side of belief of what's possible for you, you can actually reverse that and say, I was stuck in the danger zone, and I'm actually comfortable in this new place. But it's a journey, it's a process.
well, and it's funny you brought up comfort, right? Like I think of a pillow. I have the best pillow ever. I love this pillow. I'm never going to get a new pillow. And then that pillow starts to break down and it's not so great. And it's like, okay, I have to get this new pillow. It's not going to be as comfortable. We get a new ergonomic pillow and now it's our new favorite pillow. But like as humans, we're so conditioned to comfort that even switching our pillow will throw us for a loop. So imagine how that translates into your life with business, with relationships, with opportunities. We're so conditioned to comfort, especially in America. And so that's what I love about this book is it's like your comfort zone's probably your danger zone right now. And I love that you brought up
yeah.
Top Gun.
We
Most
again,
kids watched,
yeah,
cartoons growing up on Saturday mornings. I watched Top Gun. We had it on VHS, and that is what I watched every Saturday morning. So I love that you brought that up.
yeah. Well, those guys are badass guys, right? And
Yep.
we all like to think we're that person. We're not, but maybe we're not Top Gun pilots, right? Flying F-18 Super Hornets or whatever. But as business owners, we're flying our businesses, and there's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, right? To ourselves, to our family, to our team, and a lot of people counting on us to do the right things and think the right things. And I make a comment in the end of the book about leaving a legacy, and you know, people don't think of it this way, but when you own a business, there's people that are going to bed tonight. There's spouses, there's children, people going to bed tonight that are really dependent upon you and the business you have, and they don't give it a second twice. a second thought. They believe you know what you're doing. They believe you've got the financial literacy and the marketing skills and the sales processes and the business acumen to provide future security for them. And that's a it's a very humbling and noble endeavor to do that. And but a lot of people don't think about that way. And it's everybody's looking for that big lever you pull, but there's no big lever. There's 237 little levers, and pulling them all every day and making progress and is really the key. And that's what I hope people take away from this
From
book. And
this.
I hope they're inspired to take your business to levels that they've never gone to before.
Well, and Charlie, I mean, a danger zone for a lot of businesses, and especially if they've read your first book, Lessons Learned, you outline the business planning process and how they figure out their numbers. And once most business owners do this, they realize they're not making money. And the first step is usually, I got to raise prices. And there's people, like you just explained, counting on them to run a profitable business. But how many business owners have you run into, including myself, that had a danger zone of raising your prices? I can't charge more. I'm going to lose customers. My sales team's not strong enough to sell it. That's kind of what we're talking about here, right? An example of a danger zone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people undervalue the products and services that they provide and or don't really understand the costs of doing business and overhead and that part of it. And so the quickest, simplest thing that a lot of people can do to improve their financial situation is raise their prices, sell what they're selling for more. But many times they don't believe they can, and that's a real self-limiting thing. And then they don't have the sales processes and other things to really go out there and build value, educate, differentiate, and build value. I talk about that all the time. That's really our job in sales, is to educate, differentiate, build value. And when we don't do that, no one would pay more for what they perceive to be the same or so similar it doesn't make a difference. So we have to differentiate and build that value, and that's part of our selling process, and that's part of the product and service then that we ultimately deliver, and we got to embed that into our marketing messages. Uh, Very, very important. A lot of people just don't get that. I mean, a lot of the people I talk to, I offer them to send me your marketing pieces, let me critique them, and they're telling me, well, my marketing's not working. And I look at the marketing pieces, the messages they're putting out there, the offer, the calls to action, and some of them are pretty terrible, and yet they're
Yeah.
spending good money on a bad ad costs you the same to run as a good ad,
Yep.
or a bad marketing message costs you the same to run as a good marketing message, except that it actually costs you more because you don't get the return on your investment that you expect. You don't generate the leads in the business that you should. So, spending money on marketing and doing it the right way and constantly tweaking and evolving is really important. And that
Well,
limits a lot of the businesses.
yeah, it goes back to a principle that Sean teaches often is there's no low price or high price. There's the right price. And a lot of times going back, digging back the layers of that, a lot of contractors in this space are doing better than their parents did. They're doing better than they ever thought they could. So they're holding themselves back at the subconscious level, thinking, I can't charge more because at some deep paradigm, they don't think they're worth more. They don't think they deliver more, or that what they're doing is good enough, and that becomes the enemy.
100%.
It's very
In the
limiting,
mindset
that
world,
kind of a thought
one of the
process.
number one things holding people back is, am I worthy, or worthiness? And, they're looking at their numbers, they're seeing the limited success they've had. And at some level inside, they don't think they deserve more. And for you, Charlie, in your consulting and coaching, and even in your own business, what other limits did you see people put on themselves?
Uh, well, a lot of people that I see people that are just settling. I guess that's a good word, settling for what they have and not even wanting more. It would be nice to have this, nice to have that, but I don't know if they think it's beyond their grasp or their reach, but I mean, you can have a $3 million business, you can have a $13 million business, you can have a $33 million business, you can have a $133 million business. I mean, and there's a lot of growth in between, but it really begins what do you want, what feels good. A lot of people like working in the business. I have people tell me, I like going out and measuring windows, I like going out and selling jobs, and that's fine. But and if that's what you want and that floats your boat, God bless you. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying most people that are business owners are capable of a lot more, and they set their sights too low. And life, you get out of life what you expect usually, but they should expect more. They're
Hmm.
capable of more. And I see a lot of people go to conferences and they get lots of information, and they read books and all, but then they don't implement. I mean, implementation is really important. Some people are that I see, it's like paralysis by analysis. They see something in their mind, they got to play it over and over and over again and perfect it, right? And it'll never be perfect. So since they can't in their mind perfect it, they never implement it. To me, I'd rather think it through. I say put it through my common sense filter and then implement it and then tweak it on the fly. I'll improve it as I go. But it'll never be perfect. And it's an ever evolving process to get it as close to perfect as it can. But until you get going, you know you can't even begin that process. And that's why I say a lot of people are just they're full of textbook knowledge, and they've gone to a lot of conferences and listened to speakers and gone to seminars and sessions and breakout sessions and mastermind sessions, but yet pulling the trigger, implementation is I think one of the big levers that holds them back.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Charlie. In our program, Inner Blueprint, Module 2 is what holds you back. And I got this concept from Bob Proctor. It's called the knowing doing gap. And when I heard Bob talk about it, I went back to all the CCN events, all the accelerated lives, people going year after year, getting the information, and then doing nothing with it. And when you dive into it, there's a limiting belief between the implementation. I last stats I checked, 2022, $100 billion spent in North America on training organizations with new knowing, with new process, with new information. The problem is implementation, and it's one of the things I think that you talk about here is getting out of your own way. If you made a decision to go to the conference, if you wrote something down that was important, do something with it, right? Put it to work.
Yeah, so I told you my one of my favorite sayings by Henry Ford: if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. But then the follow up to that is a statement from Robert Schuller, and it's if it's going to be, it's up to me. And
Yes.
just taking ownership and you know just jumping in the pool and learning how to
Yeah.
swim. And we're all responsible, I think, for our own lives and the things we do, the things we don't do, and and human beings are capable, of it's incredible how much we're capable of thinking and learning and do and yet a lot of us hold ourselves back, and when you think about what the human mind can process and the information we can retain and it's pretty remarkable. And then the other part of that is, in my mind, the differences that you can make in the world to the people around you, your family, your team members, your customers, your community. Uh, and I hear some stories of what something people are doing, and it's incredible. It's a testimony to the human spirit and what people are capable of. But a lot of people I see are just capable of doing a lot more, and I think they sell themselves short.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember Mike Littman, the speaker at a CCN event?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
That guy had such an impact on me. He had a couple catchphrases. One was, you don't have to get it right, You just have to get it going. And I think
Right.
that paralysis by analysis that so many contractors and business owners and even managers get caught in is like you described. They get in the weeds on exactly how it's got to be done and they don't do anything. So you don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. And then you probably remember this one. You're either consistent or you're non-existent. Everything's about
Yeah.
consistency every single day, doing a little bit, doing a little bit. Those have been
Another
huge.
statement that he had that really registered with me is successful people are never victims.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have this, poor me victim mentality, or I got a bum break in life, or there's something, there's these things that in their mind make them victims, or like they think it predetermines their outcome. And I think the only thing that predetermines our outcome is us, by seeing limits or seeing no limits.
Yeah.
By
And not being afraid to fail forward. I mean, so many successful people have failed more times than I have. And they learn more from those failures, just like I learn more from my failures than I do from a perfectly set out plan that goes exactly as planned. I learn way more from my failures. And so I think we're taught failure is a bad thing, but really failure is a catalyst for growth.
that's how exactly, that's how you learn. I mean, look, I've made more mistakes than any 10 people I know, but it's only probably because I was willing to take chances and risks, and I didn't do them, without forethought, or I didn't do them without thinking it through. But they were calculated risks, and sometimes I got it right, sometimes I didn't get it right, or didn't get it as right as I could have. But you know, I learned from every lesson, and it was a building block process, and I mean, ultimate failure is never an option, right? But failure is a stepping stone process to being successful. And but a lot of people, that I have run into are fearful of making a mistake, fearful of failing, so they don't take chances. And you got to take some calculated risk along the way. You got to trust yourself. You got to trust some other people from time to time. A lot of people running these small home improvement businesses are willing to give up things and hire other people and teach and train and delegate that things to them. So the reward for doing it all yourself is you get to keep doing it all yourself, and be willing to let other people make a mistake too. I mean, most people generally are good people, and in my mind, they don't want to make a mistake. So well, you got to give them a little bit of room, and that's how they learn. That's how they grow. And but
Yeah.
it's definitely it's either not willing to give up and delegate and work on the business as opposed to working in the business, and just a lot of self-limiting mindsets, and or even being reluctant to learn the skill sets you need, that you don't know. I mean, that's one of the things. There's a lot of things that I had to learn how to do that I didn't know how to do, and but I committed myself. I'm going to learn how to do that. Whether it's learning how to, put a PowerPoint presentation. I remember when that was like, oh my God, a PowerPoint presentation. But I learned how to do PowerPoint. I learned how to use Excel. I learned how to build spreadsheets. I learned how to execute a sales process. I became a student of marketing. Uh, I started putting business plans together where, remember the first time I put a business plan together, and one of the monthly goals was $1 million. And we had never done $1 million before in a month. And I said, well, in order to do $1 million, I think I'm going to have to, in a month, I think I'm going to have to spend about 110,000 on marketing. Oh my God, 110,000 in marketing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we did it. And then, all of a sudden you got a business plan with 4 or 5 months with $1 million. Then you got months with 2 million. And, it's just ratcheting up your expectations. And I call it forced growth. You're forcing the growth. You're forcing yourself to go to areas and levels that you've never have gone to before.
When for the company to grow, you have to grow. Like if the business owner isn't willing to grow, it's funny, Charlie. I don't know if you remember, but I learned PowerPoint from you. because you gave me all the templates for the company, the kickoff meeting, the company meeting, and I really never used it, honestly. And I loved having these templates that you'd spent so much time putting together and just switching stuff out. But it's just a cool share there. That was
Yeah, and
awesome.
just something like that. The PowerPoint presentations were an interim step to being able to communicate better with my team and to share goals and progress towards those goals. So that was the reason to learn PowerPoint was I could make more effective presentations, and it's my job. I felt it was big part of my job was to stand up in front of my team every month and lay out the goals and then lay out and show the progress towards reaching those goals month in and month out. One of the I believe company culture is really important in growing the business, and in the book I talked about that, and I said I think one of the most critical things to building our company culture were, again, it ties around communication, but it was defining the goals and the objectives that we were on, and everybody in the company knew them, updating them monthly on our progress towards achieving those goals. And then the third thing was celebrating, celebrating when we achieved those goals and did things we never did before, sold more in 1 month than we ever sold before, installed more in a month than we ever installed before, had higher customer satisfaction ratings, and it was not me, it was our team doing it. My job was to lead them, but and I couldn't just expect them to read my mind. So I had to get out there in front of them and get my other key managers in front of them and then share it with the team, and it became not my goal, but our goal. It became not me, but we. And very
Well,
important.
when I remember the templates you gave me, they had years of service awards for employees, birthdays. If somebody had a baby, we'd celebrate the birth. If somebody bought a home, and then the numbers, the goal. And I think in chapter 5, you talk about clarity of vision, right? You have a vision for the company, and these are tools you use to share that vision and get the people to buy in the organization. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to think, years ago that the only thing that was really important to employees or the most important thing to them was how much money they earned. And but what I learned is, I've looked a lot at national surveys and surveys of workplaces, and actually compensation is always like number 4, number 5, or number 6 on the list that I've seen. The the most important things are people want to work for a company that they believe in. They want to work for a leader they believe in. They want to feel like they're contributing to the success of the business and that their contributions are valued and and acknowledged and rewarded. So those type of things are more important than the actual money that they earn. I mean, that's important too, but a lot of people are happy with the money they're making, but they're not happy with the way they're making it or the environment they're making it in. So and I've heard this years ago. People don't quit companies; people quit leaders,
Mm.
and leaders set the pace for the culture. So, uh, and again, and I always say this too that I believe there's a reason why the people that work for us and don't work for themselves. I mean, every now and then you have a salesman or an installer branch out and go out on their own, and it must look easy from the outside. But for the most part, people want to work in an organization that they feel stability, they feel they know where the company's going, they like what the future looks like, and they believe it's a great opportunity for them. And not everybody's cut out to be a leader or cut out to be a business owner. And Lord knows a lot of people try and fail, but for those that succeed over months and years, they're wired differently than the person who is afraid to do that or would never even consider starting their own business. So uh, I just think that a lot of times business owners also don't think of themselves in a leadership position, And I used to say I go to work every day and I just got a different job than everybody else at the company. But my number one job, I learned this, was to be the visionary. I had to be a leader. I had to, you know, uh, and sometimes that involves making some difficult decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I say to people, these businesses are not a democracy. We're not trying to please everybody or take a vote and see leadership sometimes takes boldness to make a tough decision or to make a tough call. And again, to get to a danger zone, get to an area you've never been to before. And I think that's critical to leadership. And I think a lot of business owners don't think of themselves in that term as a leader, but they are. They're how effective they are is another question, but they're all in a leadership position, and when they accept that, they are capable of, I think, creating and doing a lot bigger and better things than when they don't think that way.
100%. So how does clarity of vision come into play?
Well, I think clarity of vision is in business is, do you really know, do you really have a handle on who you are and what you are? Do you have a mission statement, which is the reasons why you're in business? Do you have a vision statement of where you're going, what you're trying to become? And do you have a core value statement of the core values that are used to make decisions in this business? And a lot of companies don't have those. And, if they have them, maybe they're not accurate. So revisit them. But, to me, uh, we talk a lot about marketing, and it's focused on marketing to our external customers, our homeowners, whatever. But there's another type of marketing. It's internal marketing. It's marketing to the people on our team. So having that clarity of vision, having that mission statement that everybody knows why we're in business, the vision statement, everybody knows where we're going or what we're trying to become, and then the core value statement is really important. And then it's do we really understand the products and services we're selling? A lot of people are, in my opinion, are too fragmented, they're too scattered. Uh, so it's hard to have the clarity of vision. They're not really focused in like they should. A lot of people don't even understand the geographic market or the demographics of their key customers and who they are, and are their efforts focused at connecting with them? Uh, in the book I talk about Jim Collins is From Good to Great. He talked about the hedgehog concept,
Mm-hmm.
and do business owners really understand their hedgehog concept? And that is what they can be the best at in their market, what they're passionate about doing, and what they can make money at. And sometimes there's things we're passionate about doing, but we're not making money at it, or we're not the best. Sometimes, we're the best, but and we're making okay money, but there's no passion there, there's no love there. Doesn't get us excited. So finding where those three things come together is the hedgehog concept. And I know for me, I talk about it in the book. My hedgehog concept changed over the years as things change. It's not, life is not static. Things do change, and we got to realize that. We have to change with the times, and as our thought processes change also. And sometimes, there's things we can do. There's things we can do, but we shouldn't be doing them because it's
Mm-hmm.
not the best utilization of our time and our talents or assets. And there's other things we can make money at, but it's still not the best utilization. So focusing in on what really is our strength, what our hedgehog concept is I think really important. And when you get all that together, then you've kind of got clarity of vision. You know what you're doing, where you're going, how you're doing it, who you're doing it with, uh, and it creates much more focus.
Well, one thing, Charlie, and I don't teach process and get in the weeds as much as I used to in business coaching now that I'm a mindset coach. But so many, especially smaller companies, are trying to do so many different product
Yeah.
lines that they're not good at any of them. And most of the bigger, most successful companies I know, yourself included, became what you're just talking about, like hyper focused on one or two product lines that they're the best. They deliver the best installation, the best experience for the customer. What's your advice, especially for a smaller contractor, as far as getting away from too many product lines and deciding what's their area of expertise?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. The book is called "More Lessons Learned: How to Accelerate the Growth of Your Home Improvement Business." So it's based upon observations I've made and things that I've learned, and I talk in there some of the mistakes that I made of trying to be all things to all people. Have do all kind of roofing, soffit fascia, seamless rain gutters, entry doors, interior doors, shutters, window treatments, and really what it did was it made it hard to have everything running smoothly at all times. It made it really hard to hire and teach salesmen because there are so many things to teach them. It made it hard to uh, train installers to do all those things well. And in many cases, it created a lot of activity for not a lot of money. And one of the key mistakes that a lot of people make, and I pointed out in the book, try to remind people, is don't confuse activity with productivity.
Yeah.
Just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're really being productive. And when you're laser focused in on your hedgehog concept and growing your business, you abandon certain things you've been doing. I mean, a lot of people do things just because we've always been doing them. They can't
Mm,
imagine not doing a certain product or service, even though it might not be very effective. They could be much better spending their limited time and assets in other areas. So I think so. To me, what I've learned is the companies that really grow in this business are companies that have a specialty. They specialize. And so to me, specialization is really where it's at. And stop trying to be, all things to all people. And and I've seen companies that were, pretty good sized companies, and they offered a real wide product line. And then I've seen other companies, startup companies, have a laser focus on what they're doing, and they grow up to the level and actually bypass that other company because
Yep.
it's just
yeah.
hard to scale those when you're trying to be all things to all people, and so having a singleness of purpose from a marketing standpoint, having a really laser sharp focused sales process and sales presentation where you're really good at, and then going out and being able to install the product and deliver a great customer experience is really how to scale the business. And it's hard to do that when you're trying to handle all kind of myriad of different products and services. And a lot of people get easily distracted. They're chasing the next big thing,
Yeah.
and those companies, they're all excited about the next big thing, and then that never materializes. They never really make any progress. There's some people you meet in life, they're starters, but they're not finishers. They always
Yeah.
got a great idea, but they never finish it. They never see it through. They never complete it. And the people that I've seen to be successful are the people that start and they weather the storms and they make all the behind the scenes moves you got to make, and then they have a breakthrough and they're very successful and they build a hell of a business, and they're help making a lot of money and helping a lot of other people succeed.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the companies that have a bunch of product lines on their financials, they just group it all together and they have one number. And this is more the process side, but one of the exercises I've had them do, and you taught me this, different profit centers for each product. And they're always amazed to go in and see that there's one product they've got a better margin on, and the other ones are actually taken away. And the one that has the higher margin sometimes is the one they're more passionate about. That makes it easier to do that laser focus. And
Yeah, the again, that's confusing activity with productivity.
mm-hmm.
and then not really knowing your numbers, and breaking out different components of your business in the different profit centers. People do roofing and they do residential re-roofing and they do roof repairs. Well, they should be two profit centers.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't have the same cost of goods sold or the same gross profit. The roof repair should have a much higher gross profit, to really, and then how much is it contributing to defer your overhead? And so a lot of people, yeah, they bunch it all together and they don't really know. So you got to break it out and, sometimes 2, 3, 4, or 5 different profit centers.
Yeah. Well, for me, in the mindset side, whether it's the individual or the company, sometimes we think we're like the sun and we have enough energy to go everywhere, and we don't. And if we take a magnifying glass and laser focus our energy, our company's energy, that's where we start to see the real momentum and the real traction.
Yeah, I think a lot of great points were brought up today and in this book, right? Like what makes a great leader, what makes a successful business, and it's, the people that aren't afraid to give up the good to go for the great. It's the people that aren't afraid of failure. They learn from their mistakes. If anything, they learn what not to do. And they're laser focused. They're not trying to be all things to all people, as you said. They realize that just because they can doesn't mean they should. And so I think that with that and with the other things in this book, it's like gold for business owners to be able to see, how can I be a better leader? How can I be a better business owner? How is this going to affect me in all areas of my life?
Yeah, working with different companies too, again, some of them are very scattered, they're very pulled in a lot of different directions, and that unfocuses your energy and your attention. And I mentioned this in the book too. I heard this probably 25 years ago. There was a speaker at a CCN conference by the name of Gary Ryan Blair. Why do I remember his name? I don't know, but I do. And he called himself the goals guy.
Yes, north or south. Yes.
And he talked about, the reason most people don't hit their goals or they're not successful is they don't focus. And he said, focus is a word, but it's also an acronym. And he says, focus stands for follow one course until successful.
Oh, that's
And when
cool.
I heard that hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, 25 years later, and I told that story many times just because it really hit me. And I realized that, again, I was confusing activity with productivity, and I probably wasn't as focused as I needed to be.
Well, Charlie, as always, ton of good information. Again, when is the book available? Is it out yet? I know I got a copy over the weekend from you, but when does it drop?
October 1st, which is tomorrow. I don't know when this will go out, but October 1st, the book is available on Amazon.
Okay.
And all people have to do is go on Amazon and search my name, Charlie Gindel, and all 3 books will pop up there. And
if you go to look for this book, More Lessons Learned, you should actually pick up Lessons Learned, the first book, because wealth of information. And, we talk about in mindset, there are books to be read and there are books to be studied. My favorite book of all time, Think and Grow Rich, I study that book. I still study that book. If you're in the business, Lessons Learned, a book to be studied, not read, studied, and most importantly, implemented. Like, take the information and do something with it. So, Charlie, you're a man that I know has implemented.
Thank you, Charlie, so much. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for all you are to so many people in this industry and out of it. We're so grateful for you.
Well, thank you again for being a guest. And listeners, pick up a copy. And Charlie, I want you to know, in my Inner Blueprint Mindset program, I speak of you several times in it. And I want you to know you love giving back to people. You've given me so much. I do everything I can every day as I try and inspire and help people think better thoughts, to share your message through me. For generations to come, we just want this positive message, these amazing business tools to live on. If you like the book, please pick up a copy, share it in your business, share it in your organizations. Charlie's contact information is on there. You can reach out to him. He's always happy to answer questions. And our only ask for the information we share on this podcast is, if you like it, subscribe. If there's someone that could benefit from the message, please share it. And as always,
Enjoy the ride.
It's a good one. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.